Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So this is
Shalom.
the moment we share, we discuss what we've learned this morning. I do need a clarification, if you don't mind, Mauricio, because when I read, let me the Torah reading, let me just read it. It says, "Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you light the candles, the seven candles shall shine forth light at the front of the menorah." So when you were when your message, what is it? What did it say? Hold on a second. It says the Eternal commands Moshe to tell his brother to light the candles in the Mishkan so that they would shine toward the menorah. It almost sounds as if there are other candles that are outside the menorah that are facing the menorah. That's how it sounded to me. Maybe it was from I should have clarified it when I was translating from Spanish to Spanglish to English.
Okay. Yeah. No, the point is the menorah is just one.
Right,
Okay.
right,
That's it. Now the point is obviously we can think is our how do you say that they have a week obviously, and they have uh, uh, an oil
the
to
oil and the wick is
yeah.
in the oil, right?
Ah, okay. So the point is, uh, it sounds like, okay, you have to put the tires in the place of the tire in your car. Okay, it's something like that because it's already there,
Right,
but it was like, okay, what you have to do is to light the candles of the menorah, and these candles, obviously, the center is already burning, but the rest you will light. That's what I understand. So
do you think
all
that the candle was in front, like facing the other candles? Like, was it, because when we light the menorah, usually we see it straight up and the others are on the side. So I'm wondering if the main candle was in a different, like more in the front or something?
They
no,
sell
no, no,
the
no,
menorahs like that.
no,
Yeah.
no.
That's
The point is, uh, well, first point is nobody knows exactly how the menorah was.
Except Moshe.
Okay, except Moshe. Okay, because it says very clearly, okay, according to how I show to Moses and
Right.
how he shows to Moses
Yeah.
in his mind.
Right.
Okay, then there is no other place that says, okay, the menorah it will be like this or like that. Then we have a menorah that the only one that we have in 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 image about how it was is the Roman Empire, when is the Ark of Titus that shows the menorah, okay, and they are carrying the menorah to Rome,
Right.
okay. That gives you an idea how it was.
Okay.
Then all today's menorahs obviously is like, okay, is a menorah which is straight, yeah, as you said, and then you have six, three to right and three to the left.
Right.
But then if you try to I don't know how it was, probably was one in the center and the rest was around. So it was around. I don't know if you can understand me.
Yes.
Okay, for example, like this. Okay, you have this the menorah, and then you have the rest here around the center.
Right.
Okay, in that case, everything is lighting the center. Okay, to the menorah.
Right.
So the point is, okay, how it was. We don't have any idea about the
No.
form.
Right.
Okay, so that's probably gives a little bit of confusion, and then the menorah which was taken to Rome by Titus,
Right.
that was of the second temple of the hero temple, right?
Right.
But here we are talking about The menorah of the Mishkan
Right.
probably was not the same. Remember, they have during the Judges, they have an invasion from Assyrians. Then they have the Babylonians.
Right.
Then o sea, I mean, probably the ones that we can see ancient in Rome is not the very same of the Mishkan. So
Right.
the point is how it was. So that's why it's saying, okay, ensure that lights the center. The only one thing that we know is was just one piece, okay, because it says one piece, seven different arms, and that's it. So that is something just to think. So then the point is, when the Eternal is saying, okay, you have to light, probably what is saying is, Aaron, do not put another candle in the midst of the Mishkan, okay?
Oh,
Light those that are there, because it could be easy to take another candle, another oil, I don't know.
right.
So it's to ensure, it's like I saying, for example, if you have to put the tire on your car, then I have to tell you, put your car's tire in that in the point where when you suppose that has to be okay,
Right.
because you can put a tire in the motor or inside the car, and you are putting the tire. So it's something like that that is redundant, but at the end it's just to make sure that he understand very clearly. And that is something that is very important for today's, because when we are giving um, some orders to our sons, for example, or to another persons, give them directions, sometimes we are not very clear, and we are in very gray, and then we are upset because nobody understood clearly what we tried to say. As for example, you say from Spanish to Spanglish to English, okay?
Right. Right.
And then obviously to French, and I don't know if in French will sound the same. So, but that's the point. It's very important to be clear. Obviously, Aaron, and that's the point. He understood very clearly the direction, okay,
Right.
and he did accordingly. Then, and also another point that is very well, here we have a lot of treasures in this portion.
Yes.
Honestly, I just take one word
It's
of the
amazing.
portion, okay, and the word is when. So when we will act, when we will execute. So then but also we have Pesach Sheni, which is the second Pesach. And all this is for the people who were not able to be in the first Pesach. Then we have that all the Levi tribe was presented before the Eternal as an offering. Okay, all the tribes brings material things. Okay, an ox, sheep, gold, silver, etc. But this tribe did not present the very same portions, offerings as the rest. They presented themselves for the service.
Right.
That's why it says that the Torah that they sprinkle over they purify the offering to God by sprinkle the water. Okay, but it's not, obviously it's not hocus pocus water, right?
Right.
It was from the sanctuary. And then it said that they took the every person and they tenufach, they trimming, and this is very interesting because that was what people did to their offerings. They took the offering and they move the, but here they are moving the persons, the Levites. They are offering these people to God, and then the prince obviously was Aaron. As prince, he presented his offering. Who were the offerings? Levites. And then we learn that God doesn't want to have a dead offering of persons, because at that time, human sacrifice was very common, and now they are presenting living persons to God. They are not killing them. Oh, okay, they are not murdering them. So now alive, because alive persons is what God needs. He doesn't need dead persons. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So and then it came another four different things. Okay. Then the how do you say queja?
Congregation?
No,
Kahal?
no, no, no. Queja is when you start to
Complain.
complain. Yeah, complain when people wanted meat. I want meat. I want meat. And
Quejarse.
then
Quejarse.
yeah,
Quejarse.
exacto, quejarse, yes. And then they start to complain to God and to Moses. Honestly, was to God and everybody. Oh, we want some meat. Honestly, they have meat there.
They had a lot of cattle. They
They
left with
have that.
cattle.
They have a lot of cattle. It's just that what. So if you have meat, you can eat meat. Why you are saying I would like to have meat as Egypt? That's an
Because
illusion.
when you are so filled with anxiety or with fear, you can't see what you have. You can't see anything. You only see the glass half empty. You see what you don't have.
Yes, and but you know exactly they have meat. That's the point. So the point is that according to the sages, the word meat is lujuria, lusteries. Okay,
Oh,
they really had
lusting. Yes.
lasting. They wanted really meat, but meaning meat of men or woman. Okay,
Oh,
so it was something sexual.
aha.
So they were complaining about that because in Egypt they had all this libertine, okay, and now God is putting them order, okay.
Ah, interesting.
So I want meat. That's the point. And then God just sent them some birds, and it says that they took the birds and they didn't even cook. So
Oh,
it was so, I mean, and then a lot of people die. Then we see how the Lashon Hara of Aaron and Miriam talking about the Cushita woman of Moses. Okay, and the point is not, yes, they talk about the woman of Moses, but the point is that they said not the eternal could talk through us. Okay, it's
right.
like I want to have the right of the role of Moses, and in that is the very same thing that happened with Korach that
Exactly.
we read later. Okay,
Right.
I want the position of Moses. I'm not happy to what is my portion. So it says that Moshe asked to God for pray for Miriam, and God healed her. And and this is so interesting because you can think, oh, is Miriam is the prophetess, and she is the broad sister of Moses. So she will have a special treatment. No, it was the very same treatment as the other one. Go to the desert, and then stay there 7 days, and then come back, and we will see if you and present to the priest. So was no difference, and that is amazing.
Yeah.
Today, I would like to see, for example, during the COVID, I can see how people decide to give life or not give life according to who was the patient in the hospital. They decided honestly,
Mm.
and this is something that the Torah doesn't do. They don't care who is the is taking care not of the role of the person, the value is the soul. Okay, and so it's so interesting. Then
We see
we
that
read,
even with Moses, how he wasn't allowed to enter the land. God didn't, even though he spoke to God face to face, or God spoke to Moses face to face. He still couldn't go into the land. He's had to pay the consequences of what he did. God is not a doesn't prefer one person over another and make
yes,
special allowances for them. Yeah.
and then we read also that the camp stand, and every time they move, it says, according to Isaiah, this is another Torah, because it's in the it's among two portion. One, if when people wanted flesh, and the other is when the lashon hara of Miriam and Aaron. But in the midst is something that has like a parenthesis in the Torah.
Mhm.
But it says, and we read today in the Shabbat, okay, oh, God, lift up, and arise, God, and to move, okay. So it's so nice, because honestly sometimes I remember that I used to go to different places, because in my job I have to move. I have to go to long distances from home, and then I never asked to God to protect me. I mean, it was something like, oh, God is always with me, and in the morning I do my prayers, and that's it. But now the point is to have that conscience of God, that we pray to Him. God, I have to go to the supermarket. Please be with me. God, I will walk to the park. God, be with me.
Mhm.
So it's like desiring His presence, that you are covered by Him. It's not like bodyguard really, that God will work for you, but it's just that I want your, you know, it's so nice to have a partner, okay,
Yes.
to in every place,
Right.
even though you are alone, but you know God is with you, so you can talk to Him, you can feel His presence,
Right.
and so it's very nice. um
I like the
and
part of what I liked of what you had to say about guilt, because if anyone knows about guilt, it's me. I spend my days sometimes really struggling with the guilt of my own past, and I loved what you say about how it's true. We think that time heals all wounds, but you said if it's not, they were not properly treated, the wound has to be handled with proper treatment, and the proper you put with a capital P, meaning coming from God. I suppose that's what you meant, right? With the capital P? Yeah,
mhm.
because He's the only one who can help us get through that, through the guilt, and to deal with our past. I have so many, friends and relatives who have not done that, and they really are suffering today as they get older. It's very important.
Yes, to feel guilty is something very terrible.
Yeah, Rabbi used to
uh
talk about the difference between guilt and conviction. When you're convicted about something, or you're convinced that you've done something wrong, you have to ask God to forgive you and forgive yourself. if, how often do I say over and over, it's a process. We go to the next level and then something shows up again and we're reminded of what we did. And it's a constant going to him, constantly saying, Lord, please help me to reach the next stage of forgiveness. Because I don't know if we can ever fully forgive ourselves until we're going to be with him. Honestly, I don't know.
It's such a trust issue
Yeah,
because,
trust.
I also, there's certain things that I keep repeating to you, Peggy, about things I've done that I'm still not as plagued with anymore, but still guilty about. And I say, the guilt is sort of a sign of my lack of trust. I mean, it's not a full trust when you're still carrying that guilt, because God, the God of beginning again, is constantly saying that we are created and we could start again. And it doesn't mean that we don't look at that and regret some of the things, whatever, but there is a difference between carrying that guilt and saying, I know I did wrong or whatever it was, but now God is allowing me to begin again, which is what's so special about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's that He's the God of beginning again.
But we have a tendency to whitewash or cover over. Oh, there's times when I'll say, well, I was right in what I did because of the circumstances. And I made those choices because of that, instead of stopping and saying, no, I made the choice. I did that. And I know Rabbi Percy never let me get away with it. He would always, confront me and say, no, you have to admit. And even the admitting comes in layers. It's really incredible how our egos are so can be so convoluted, can be so protective, we can be so protective of ourselves that we won't admit what we've done. And and that's
Yes, the point here is that there are two different of guilt, to feel guilt. Okay,
right.
One is when you made something wrong and you deserve a punish, I would say.
Right.
But you make yourself like I didn't, and I didn't, and I wasn't punished. So there is the guilt, because once you are discovered and you are you face the justice, and then you carry your responsibility because someone judged you and told you something, and then the guilty, yeah, it could be, but you say in your mind, I already pay. Okay, so you can close that experience. But for me, it's worst. Okay, when okay, you never was discovered, it was only you, and you know that you did something wrong. Then you have to present before God and say, God, I made a mistake. Okay, if it is good, go to the person and face the person if you damage someone, and pay your damage if you can. If you can't, it's not a good idea. Don't do that. But you can present. But I have seen a lot of person feel guilty for something that they never did wrong, and that is worst. Okay, because it's something that is in their head, saying you are guilty for another person's decisions. You are guilty for what is happening to your country, and you are not ruling your country. For example, I don't know, or you think you did something wrong, but you didn't. For example, when you face someone who is stealing, you say, hey, don't do that. And then you feel guilty because you say that. You can say today, oh, that's not good. But how many persons I have seen, but when they correct someone, they feel guilty. Okay, and they are charging every time with that. If you couldn't do nothing, do not feel guilty.
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Was something from heaven.
Yeah. Holly, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to this because Matthew and I were talking about this a bit like before the message, I think, and how there's like two different kinds of guilt. And we were using the words guilt and shame. And I really like what Matthew said, because he said shame makes it more about you. So it's like, I felt bad or I feel really bad, but there's not really any room for growth or healing. And usually with shame, like I think of a child who's been caught doing something and they feel ashamed, but they don't really have the tools to even know, oh, I can just like ask for forgiveness and make this right, because they don't have parents that are healthy enough to guide them through that. Whereas guilt, you're motivated and you know kind of the path to being better or making the situation better. So I really like how everything ties together too. Like what I'm hearing you say, Mauricio, with the two different kinds of guilt, it's like there's also responsibility. And one of the things I really took away from the message was the, like having your internal flame alight as you live your life will then, like, as we bring that closer to somebody in our community, it gives them the opportunity to have their internal flame alight also. And that puts responsibility on us to just live our life the way that we're supposed to be living. And as a Christian, I always felt this pressure to change people and to be the light of the world for the purpose of changing others. And I think that there was a lot of shame in that, instead of just being motivated to live my life because God made me a certain way and I can live up to that potential that he sees in me. So I like making these connections and piecing everything together.
Yeah. And even the shame, if it's dealt with properly, can lead to becoming more humble.
Yeah. And the humbleness is important. Like Mauricio, what you were saying, how you pray all the time now. And it's like, okay, God, I'm going on this trip. It's remembering your position. Like you're a creation of the creator and his ways are not our ways. And we can just stay humble in that and invite him, or just even acknowledge that he is with us all the time.
Yeah.
Humility is such a key piece to it all.
It's funny. Also, Peggy, you were saying something about Rabbi Percy wouldn't let go of you, that you had to recognize what you did was wrong. But sometimes we tend to do things like, well, let's say a person really did something to wrong you, legitimately wrong you, and your actions are a reaction, but it's the wrong thing that you did. You have to separate. The person is still, but the person who wronged you did wrong you, but doesn't mean that you now have license to have a reaction that's not a moral reaction. So that's the thing we have to recognize. Even if somebody really did something wrong, they're the ones, they're responsible for what they do. And they may have really legitimately wronged you, but we have to really, we're responsible for how we react to things.
Yeah, that's why it's so wonderful when you have parents who raise you with Torah and you have the tools to deal with all these things, and thank God, we do have, as Rabbi said, a God of beginning again, so that even when I turn 76, I can still turn back to Torah. It's marvelous. It's
right.
Yeah.
Yes, also, honestly, it was so beautiful for me to the Tehillim I put in the message, which is Tehillim 139, verse 12, that for God there is no light, there is no darkness. We as humans perceive light and darkness. For him, everything is light because he dwells in light.
Right.
So in the problem is sometimes we I read something, and I'm very sure that Angel can give us something, because if I can remember, he works in something like that. So, but it says that the colors are in our eyes, are not really, it doesn't exist. For example, the color blue or gray, no, those doesn't really exist. That all the pigments are inside of our iris,
Huh.
if I can remember. So in that is something that gives me to be very humble, okay, honestly, because sometimes, especially when I'm judging someone, how God really looks or see that person, okay, because it's like the colors, different colors. I can see that person in that color, but God doesn't see as I do. So it was so nice to me to discover this in the Torah.
So
In
you
the,
mean
that
that anybody, like several different people can look at a tree and they would all see a different green, according to
yeah, probably. Yeah, probably depends on your eyes. And even, for example, a dog, a lizard, a fish, they will see your green and they will see another color, probably.
I love that.
And
I was
yeah,
watching a bug the other day, like go into this tiny little hole, and I was thinking, bugs probably see things completely different than we do. They probably see the sound bouncing off of
Right.
something, or, you know, we're gonna get Angel all excited here. He's gonna start talking about like light and vibrations and everything. I love it though. I'm so into that. It's
Yeah,
been
well-
so helpful for me to learn about that though since Benny died, because it's just a reminder, and it's like the reality behind how little we understand and how little we see things, and how there's something like so abstract out there.
yeah,
Really incredible.
yeah. Miriam, you were just saying that how
Yeah, about yeah.
about
At the
seeing, sound, and
yes,
hearing.
hearing the
But compound
sight and seeing sound,
Hearing what?
like
But
seeing
compound eyes.
seeing sound and hearing the visual. Like, you know, right now, even at Mount Sinai, remember they were saying they believed that they saw sounds and heard, you know, like our senses are more than what we even perceive, you know, and not that there aren't any, like I really believe, you know, when God didn't create chaos, so when we see a green tree, there might be variations because of our personal vision, but we still have a knowledge of what green is. You know what I mean? It's not chaos in the sense that you'll see orange, or I mean, there's got to be a way we relate to each other where there's common ground and green is green, but there's like an absolute green, which is the green that God, you know, God is the absolute of all colors and all everything. So yeah, I find that stuff like absolutely amazing. I love it.
Bugs see by compound eyes.
What's this?
Bugs see in compound eyes. Their eyes are compound eyes.
Bugs.
Bugs see.
Yeah,
Oh.
we don't know what that looks like to us. Yeah. Yes, Andre.
You know that we always forget, okay, how limited this body is. Our vision is limited at a certain spectrum, okay, of the light. We can only visualize from a specific wavelength, okay? Then we go into a higher wavelength where it becomes, and you cannot see it anymore. You know, I can say that I'm at work. I'm working constantly with lasers and with some different sources. And some lasers I can see with my eyes because they're visual. They are on this spectrum, okay, with the eyes. But sometimes I cannot see if it's working or not. So I need a special card, which it's you put it in front and it can show you if there is, because once that we pass higher of that spectrum, we go into infrared, okay, or we call it
Violet, infrared and ultraviolet.
yeah. So we cannot see with our eyes. So now, just to tell you how limited our bodies are, not only that works with how we see things, how we perceive through our eyes, but how we listen and hear through our ears, which is a certain specific frequency. And that, so now, knowing that and knowing our limitations, you know, and we can start being more open. That is not everything that we see, hear, touch, feel, or it's all that it is in life, in this existence. It's more. It's it's we are just this. We are living in this spectrum. What about the rest of the spectrum?
Exactly. Yeah,
And knowing that the photon, that it depends. How I was amazed when I learned that it's the colors of the flowers. It seems that the blue color it has more energy. It's able to capture the photon, of the rays of the sun. And anyways, it's just to tell you that it's so incredible how how beautiful all the creation is, and everything has its own purpose. Now, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the things, and this is not to talk about now. Coming back on the message about asking ourselves what have we, what is that we have done wrong, and in my opinion, if we are just seeing, looking at the things that happened in history, going back from the destruction of the last temple, okay, the second temple. Now, which were the things that they were wrong? If you start looking at and just being objective, what happened, why? And this is not to put down our religious systems right now that they are, because I don't believe that religious systems, it's a solution for humanity. I believe that the growth of every single in the aspect of being responsible, of growing in the knowledge of the Creator, and this is the most, not to hold everybody under certain rules where everybody's afraid of breaking anything. It doesn't allow people to think for themselves, exercise their free will, and it's just based off control. But not going back, just to think about, look, the beginning, when the Creator supposedly gave to Aharon the instructions and to the Levites. Okay, let's talk about that. Look how the things went wrong. And there is not a coincidence that the temple, okay, the second temple was destroyed. Okay, it is not a coincidence. Let's start about the factions that they were in that time, in that period of the Asmonean, after the Asmonean, they call it the Asmonean. There were three different factions, more important, that they were ruling, and they were in charge. Basically, we have the Sadducees, we have the Pharisees, and we have the Essenes. Okay. Now, remember that it was to the Kohen, okay, the descendants of Aharon, who were in charge of the priesthood, and then the Levites of the service on the temple. So now, listen to this. Okay, the Sadducees. The Sadducees, okay, were elitists. First of all, they were elitists. They were aristocrats, okay, that they were very involved with how can I say, being aristocrats. They have to have these connections with the Romans. They were very open, very well, let's say, like kind of liberal, in nowadays translated, and they were also connected with the Greeks in that time. So now they pay to maintain the priestly caste. I'm going to repeat this again. We have a group. This was more than 2,000 years ago, okay, that they were in charge. These are the things wrong, okay? And until we don't fix this, there is, or we, how can I say, we realize how wrong everything, the entire thing, we built up, on a structure, on a base that it was not the base that the Creator gave us, according to the scripture. I'm talking according to what we know from the Torah. Okay. Now, the Levites are not anymore in that time, in the second temple. They were not in charge. I guess there were all these the Pharisees, they took over. The Pharisees took over. Now the Sadducees, they were, as I say, in charge of the priesthood. Now let's see what the Pharisees were. Okay, right now the Pharisees, they evolve from then to become right now the spiritual fathers of the modern Judaism. Okay, now look at this. Or they call it also the blue collars Jews. Okay, the blue collar Jews. Now they believe, okay, and I'm going to say that this is what it is, like right straight. I'm not against them, and I'm not against. I believe that they in their intentions, to maintain all and to continue all this, for so long, they create this. But look, in the belief of another law, okay, believe very in another law. Another law, when the Torah clearly says you shall not add anything to my word. And now, this oral, they call it oral law, okay, that was written down roughly 3 centuries later. Remember that I'm here not to criticize, and I'm just to be objective as it is, how truth is and how it's in front of us. This, in order to us to see what is happening, in order to see, okay, well, there is something that we have to do. We have to change things that they have to be changed. We need to return. We need to find out who the Levites are. We need to, truly, anyways. So now, then there was the other group that they were the Essenes. Now, if we see what the Essenes did when all this happened during that time, do you know that the Essenes, they were called the teachers of righteousness? So now, if they were the teachers of righteousness, not only teachers of righteousness, they will have all they were no literatists. They were inspired and exegesis. Okay, they were they were against the sacrifices of animals in the temple. All right, they didn't believe in that. They didn't, they live a life that was more secluded. But look at this. When they decide, they believe that they had these others too, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, that they took over. Okay, not only about the priesthood, about the Kohanim, they took also about the service of the temple. Everything is look what happens in the history prior to that. That I remember, if I read in on the prophets, that the same story keeps repeating again and again. Someone comes over, usurpates.
But I'm just wondering what all this has to do with the message for today. I don't know where you're going, because I mean, I understand.
Talking about the things that they are going wrong, the things that they were gone wrong, and in reality, with in that time with the Levites, that they were given all this. Is very important to understand that why the tasks were given to the Levites, why they were not given to other tribes. There was a purpose for that, and there was a purpose, that a coincidence that when you know what the Ark of the Covenant is, that only a specific group of the Levites were able to carry the Ark of the Covenant. If you know about the Ark, what it really is, this artifact, you will understand why it was so important that these people had a specific conditional, or they were specific, that they were able not to die by carrying the Ark. But just to tell you about, coming back about that, just by looking at everything that we're watching, that we're seeing, that is in front of us, we can deduct that it's something that it has to change. It has to be, replaced. It has to be, there is no other coincidence neither that even the supposedly the last Messiah that we consider Messiah among the Messianic Jews, that we believe that he was the anointed one, that would came to restore Israel and restore, and since then the temple was destroyed, and all has been more than 2,000 years. So there is a lot of things that we need to start considering, and we cannot continue like this. It's like we have to do something about it. It has to be a revolution. It has to be something to change. That it has to be and I was reading that something like that really made me think about, like, man, as like there are other nations that if only Israel could understand a little bit who really truly is, what is the purpose of the mission here for humanity, and then understand that trying to listen to the other nations that they're trying to help Israel, that in order to see for themselves, and to for once clearly see and start this restoration, or this refocus, or what kind of paradigm shift.
Okay, Anka, lead the way. We'll follow you. You're
Yeah.
going to be Joan of Arc.
But no, right, yeah. You
No,
tell
you
that,
know,
to the religious leaders in the Jewish rabbinical, and they will sell a killer to kill you. Because this is what look. This is nothing new. We keep going. We keep repeating the same mistakes.
Yeah. Well,
Look
all
what
we
they
can
did
do,
with the prophets.
but that's
Look
what
they did with the prophets.
but that's what
They
Holly
will
was
kill
saying. We
every
can only
single-
change ourselves.
Listen, they will kill every single prophet sent by Hashem, by
Okay.
by.
Okay, Angel, let somebody else have a chance. Hold on.
Yeah, go on.
I agree. Like, if we keep following this pattern as society, like not even society, but just like world history, it's kind of depressing sometimes if you think about it, because it's like we're just falling into the same traps, and every religious group thinks that they hold the answer and that they know stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why it
just
boils down to us.
Our own
selves.
Each
the
of us.
problem is always the same. There is the creator does something, then humanity, or the ones who are manipulating humanity, comes over and they usurps what the creator did. Not only that, usurps, they change the message, they change the commandments, they manipulate everything that we were not supposed to manipulate.
Yes.
If it was clear, the 10 commandments, clear. By the way, there were two, the two main ones that they were.
It's sadly ironic.
I've learned that the two commandments that Yeshua taught in the time, you love the creator, and to love your neighbor as you, or whatever you want others to do to you. Actually, that is found also in one of the rabbis. I don't know if Akiva or no, what was one of the rabbis?
Hillel.
How you could resume the Torah?
Hillel.
Hillel. So Hillel also, he was very close. Those are the main purpose, the main two commandments. There was.
Well, it's not that he changed the commandments. He summarized them. To love God with all our hearts, which covers the first three, and then to love ourselves, which covers the middle two, and our neighbor is the last five. Yes, Mauricio, you were going to say something.
Yeah, just to think, okay, it's about what was Angel talking. For me, the Torah in this portion was very clear. The Levites have a role. Then in history, they decide to change. Okay, who decided? David, because he wanted to probably I don't know if it was a guilt or not, but he wanted to please God by constructing a temple. And God never asked in the Torah to build a temple. He wanted to have a mishkan, something very simple, okay, a tabernacle, okay. But I don't know. And then comes Shlomo and built, and even during the presentation of the temple, he started to say, God, you don't need this, but it's something that we want to give you, okay. And then comes different invasions invaders to Israel, and then the tribes just were to different places in the world.
Yeah, it's
And then they
interesting because instead of being a light the way we were supposed to be, we caused the nations to covet what we had by showing it all off, and they wanted to come in and take it away from us in that big temple.
Yes. And the point is, and then we return to Aaron, light the lamps to the central lamp. What is the lamp? The lamp are the souls of the persons.
Mm-hmm.
So when he said light the lamps toward the center, is a light all people around you to the Creator.
Right.
That's
our job.
That's our job. But instead to light, they decided, I don't want to have this role. And then they start to create different groups. God just created one Israel. Exactly. And then we have different leaders, different persons who wanted to rule and interpret the Torah according to their own ideas. Yeah. Okay, instead to light people, to light souls, they start to, I don't know how to say, apaciguar. Yeah.
What is the solution of all our problems? Of because we have created all this, we have made it that it's just simple returning to what we are. We are sons of Abraham, and we are Hebrews. We are united, all. We are all. There is no more, we are all one.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yes, and then what happened? They create the first temple. God destroyed the temple. Come on, just to think. Okay, it's like when you have, I don't know, a cell phone, for example, and then someone destroyed your cell phone, and the very first thing you have to do is to buy another one, instead to say, okay, I want to wait until I have another telephone. I don't know, probably I could say another thing. For example, the doctor says no more sugar, and then what I do, I'm going to look another thing to replace the sugar, and that is worse, okay, than sugar. And in this desire, what they did, they wanted to have the temple, but not the God of the temple.
Well, that's exactly happening again. They want to rebuild now a third temple, but they don't want to have the God who.
Yes, and then you start to think about this. Is the desire of the man to build a temple, but is the desire of God? Yeah. I mean, and then you have different groups, and today we have different groups, and everybody wants to have the reason, okay? And we're not called to have the reason, just to light up persons, to say, hey, God is among us. God wants to dwell in us, and he wants to give us life and full life, and in a simple message as to light the lamp is a simple task, okay? So that's for me, that is happening again. So when I see people desiring the third temple, then I start to ask myself, okay, really, God commanded us to rebuild the third temple?
No, he didn't even command us to build the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we
that's the
light,
point.
exactly, we light our lights.
And we want to resurrect something that is already made stones. Okay, so
Yeah,
we need to change.
yeah.
That's the point.
We need to light our
And
lights, our own lights, by being
yes,
grateful, by being grateful instead
You
of
know,
complaining, by turning to Him and listening to Him, listening to the signs. It's interesting because we listen by what we see. You know, God shows us things, and when we listen and obey, we act like Aaron, who made so many mistakes, and yet God forgave him and still put him in a position like that, which was really to be the servant of all of us, and we are to be the servants of each other. We're coming to
and
the end of this portion now, and it's very important that we finish because it's my birthday.
okay.
And I
we're
have
gonna sing to you.
and okay, go ahead, Mauricio. I'll let you sing to me.
Yeah, help me. Okay, but put yourself on mute, yeah, because I don't want just to hear my voice. Okay. Okay.
Sing like
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Piggy. Happy birthday to you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. And the same to Karen. And everybody have a wonderful day because I'm going out to party now.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to enjoy life. Oh, look at Shashi.
Hi, Shashi.
So,
Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Shashi.
Hi, sweetheart.
hello.
Oh, look at your new bag. Is that a new bag for school?
No, he's going for a
Nope.
hike today. We're
Going
gonna go
for
for
a hike.
forest
Okay.
walk.
Enjoy your hike.
So we will miss the party.
You're going
We
to
will
miss the party. Yes,
And the cake, most important, the cake.
exactly. Most important, the cake and chocolate. That's my favorite thing. Chocolate, dark chocolate covered almonds. That's my favorite thing in the world.
chocolate.
Cake is my favorite thing in the world.
Which is yours?
said cake.
Cake. Yummy.
Favorite thing in the world.
All right, everybody. Thank you
Arr.
for all your input. Mauricio, thank you again. And Bayatid, oh, she's got her whole family there, La Familia. Okay, good. Oh, you got your sword. You're going to protect us from the animals. Good. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.